The following is an example of how rage bait content creators lie to you to play to your pre-existing bias.
We've got technically the first Omen is at $20 million right here. That is technically owned by the Walt Disney Company. So maybe we could give them credit for that.
It's not technically owned by the Walt Disney Company. It's actually owned by the Walt Disney Company. If you can give them credit for anything they produce through Lucasfilm, Marvel, or Pixar, you can give them credit for something they produce through 20th Century Studios.
But continuing on, this makes Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It is the 41 highest grossing film of 2024. Down here, at number 62 is the carryover from Wish with $3.364 million. And then one more, Turning Red with 1.4. So I think right now, let's see, 3.6 and 1.4. We're at $5 million there. Then Luca with 1.3. So now we're at 6.32-ish. And then down here, Soul with 946, so we'll add another million there. What are we at? We're at 7.4. If only, is there another Walt Disney feature that can put the rest of these over the top? Oh, here's one, The Marvels with 21,000, not with an M, not a mousand or a thousand, but 1,000 here. It looks like the Phantom Menace made more money than the entire Walt Disney slate so far this year.
So did you catch that? 2 of those films came out last year, and this is the amount of money that they have made in the handful of theaters that they're still in this year. And the other 3 are films that came out during the pandemic and just happened to be getting a re-release theatrically this year. They were never going to make very much money. They're not new movies. And they're certainly not from franchises that are anywhere near the magnitude that Star Wars is. None of these movies were ever going to do well. They certainly weren't going to compete with a Star Wars re-release. And in fact, the one movie on there that Disney did release new this year, and as far as I know, is the only one that they've released in 2024 this year, at least as far as I could find. That's a major release. Actually did do much better than The Phantom Menace did. But you only want to give them technical credit. Why don't we wait for movies like Deadpool and Wolverine, Moana 2, or Mufasa to come out, Inside Out 2, and see how well they do before we start making a judgment at how successful Disney's movies are for 2024. Instead of grabbing a list of movies that are stragglers from last year or previous years, as if that's evidence of anything.
And now they can only get people to show up for re-releases of films, and films they didn't even have a hand in making. Vash, what does this say about the current state of the Walt Disney Company?
Oh, it's bad times over there at the Walt Disney Company.
This is a prime example of how rage bait media manipulates the data so that they can make content to play on your existing bias. And when I pointed this out to them, they basically completely ignored what I said. And as you can see from the comments, it works. It gets people worked up, and they start talking about the same old conversations they have under any post made about a Disney production. And everyone just completely ignores the clearly manipulated data. You see a post talking about how Disney doesn't know what they're doing, or some sort of very clearly baiting content trying to get you all stoked up and angry about stuff that Disney is doing. Actually stop and think about what they are saying, because what you may find nearly 100% of the time is that the information is either made up or a manipulation. Don't fall for it, and let's stop letting them get away with it.